The first one, Richard Willis.
From there,
Or you could, if you got the voice that goes out, you can do it from right there.
then I'm happy to do it right here. So I'm Richard Wills. I'm on the city council for Ocean Shores. I wrote all of the board members a letter, and I need to correct one of the things in the letter. In the letter, I thought that that the board was able to charge some administrative fees if you accept this grant. I found out today that that's probably not true. I want to speak in favor of accepting this grant, and for me, it's a binary decision that if you accept the grant, then Ocean Shores gets $8 million, approximate numbers, passed through. You can't do anything with that money. And the only thing that Ocean Shores can do with that money is build the existing tower the way it's described in the grant. Nothing can be changed. It can't be converted into a berm or tsunami pilots or a dike or anything else. All it can do is build this tower. So it's a binary choice. We accept the grant, build the tower, and that provides an opportunity to save upwards of hundreds to maybe 1,000 or 2 lives. Don't accept the grant, and everybody on the peninsula dies when the tsunami hits. There's no question there's going to be a tsunami. In the last 10,000 years, there's been 41 recorded tsunamis. And history tells us, that science tells us, there's going to be another tsunami. And Ocean Shores is what, 6 or 8, 10 feet above sea level, and the wave could be any place from 5 to 20 or 30 or 50 feet high. And the chances of anybody surviving that wave when it comes is approaching 0. If we build the tower, then primarily the children and staff at the Ocean Shores Elementary School will have a very easy chance to get to the tower, plus anybody else who is within walking distance of the tower. And the tower, although it's designed for 800 people, that's to meet the building code requirements. There's not going to be anybody with a clicker down there said, oh, 801, you can't come up. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. We will pack the tower as tightly packed as we have people trying to get up the tower. So build the tower, accept the grant, let Ocean Shores build the tower, and we have the potential to save hundreds or even thousands of lives. This is kind of a test bed tower. It's kind of once we see how this works and what's involved in the building, then we can decide whether to go on and build the additional towers that we need to provide coverage for the whole peninsula. So build a tower, save lives. Don't build a tower, and it's tough. We're just accepting that you're all going to die. That seems like a pretty easy choice for me. I hope that you see it as easy as I do. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question just about the stuff. I was looking at the agenda and we didn't get a new one. I didn't see anything for the mayor for his PowerPoint presentation or anything. So is that
I think that'll be under new business.
That's under new business?
Yeah.
We're having speakers.
Okay, and that's when it's gonna go? Okay. I know. Thank you. Is it Jane Shatner?
Jane Shattuck.
Jane Shattuck.
Jane Shattuck. All right. How can the school district think about making an agreement with the city of Ocean Shores that could only possibly protect one school when Pacific Beach and high school are in need of serious structural improvements? The school district needs to utilize the OSPI funds for themselves for seismic safety improvements to all the schools in the district, not for just the tower for the newest built school. Not using the grant to seismically retrofit the older schools where there is a need and giving the money to the city would absolutely leave the children unprotected. There are also questions about how much protection the tsunami tower will offer to the school. With the extreme distance that the tower will actually be from the school, how are teachers going to be able to achieve getting children ages 5 to 12 to the tower during a seismic event of that magnitude? And the location of the tower is in the maintenance yard where there are flammable chemicals stored. Ocean Lake Way is the street where the maintenance yard sits and proposed location of the tower. It runs all the way to the ocean. Looking at the flow chart for a potential tsunami hitting Ocean Shores, This would potentially create a funnel bringing all the debris between the ocean and that location to that area where once again flammable chemicals are stored. The definition of disaster protection is to minimize loss should a disaster occur. Giving the OSPI funds to the city for possible protection to one school instead of keeping the funds and utilizing them for all the schools in need is definitely not the definition of disaster protection, as in minimizing loss. Finally, how was the school board not part of the negotiation? Are they not in charge of running the district? The behind closed door deal doesn't give public renewed confidence in the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Conrad.
Thank you. What you have before you this evening is MOU that wants you to take grant money for seismic retrofits to schools and instead pass it through to the city of Ocean Shores for a tsunami tower is nonsense. First, no one has a clue as to how much this proposed tower will cost anyway. Numbers have been floated around, a few million here, a few million there. All the city knows for sure is the funding allocated from FEMA and the original matching funds set aside in their budget are nowhere near enough. Second, we have an appointed mayor of the city of Ocean Shores looking for campaign rhetoric to win an election in November. Whether it is to convince citizens he has the best interest at heart, whether it's to prove he cares about the children, or whether it's to win over the citizens who can least afford any increase to the city match, you should stop this in its tracks. If you can make any sense out of what has been presented to the taxpayers from the city mayor, administration at council meetings, city chat, the mayor's report, radio interviews, and perhaps tonight's presentation, I commend you. I've listened repeatedly, and I hear nothing that convinces me why you, a school board who truly has the children's safety and well-being in mind when you make decisions, would even consider for a moment taking funds that are meant for seismic retrofitting of a school or to moving a school to higher ground, and instead give the funds to the city of Ocean Shores to help them pay for a pet project that they can no longer afford. We understand that this is the first time a suggestion to acquire funds from OSPI has been presented to the board, yet they are asking you to approve this tonight. This is the way they do business in the city. They present their clever schemes to the Ocean Shores City Council, always with an immediate need to vote because deadlines are imminent. Please do not go down that path. Take your time, review what is being presented. You will find, as some of us who've traveled here tonight, that this is a self-serving request and should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. God, I hope I don't butcher this name too much. Nanny Bearcox?
Bacon.
That's Bacon?
Yeah.
Hey, Nanny Bacon.
You see before you somebody who has experienced tsunamis and hurricanes. I come from the land of tsunamis and hurricanes. And at the meeting that we had with the mayor, the chat, he said the occupancy was 400. That's for the tower, not 800. And he also said that they could add on people, other people, if need be, they're gonna try. My question to you guys is, have you guys ever looked to see the areas that had hurricanes? Hawaii for one, Florida, Gulf of Mexico. Philippines always has monsoons, and Japan, instead of just looking at Japan. There are other ways that we can do this. We don't need one tower to take care of 400 people. And I don't like when people become like Paul Revere running through the town yelling, the tsunami is coming, and not do anything about it. I have volunteered and worked in the classrooms. I love the children. They are awesome here, but I really don't think that we need one tower. Again, I'm gonna say one tower. There was proposed to have 14 up to 20 towers, but why only one? That's not gonna help anybody. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Stuck in.
Scott Camden?
Cameron,
Scott Cameron, okay.
yeah, I really came to talk about the Pacific Beach Elementary item, but I am a geologist and I do have a comment about this particular one that might be relevant. So I know I've worked with the people who've done all the analysis about the tsunami, folks at the state survey, the folks at the University of Washington. I've been doing geology for 40 years and I live in Pacific Beach, been here for 15 years. So I'm kind of interested in the topic. There will be another tsunami. It will be big. As the first gentleman mentioned, their geologic record is pretty clear, even though they don't occur very frequently here. Recurrence interval can be on the order of several hundred years. It will come, and the odds are probably about a 15% chance of a big one in the next 50 years. We have a unique opportunity here to take advantage of a gift the state has given us. The 5933 initiative basically covers 2/3 of the cost of seismic retrofits and tsunami protection, including vertical evacuation towers. And there's additional state funds out there that could raise that total amount to almost over 92% or so. To miss the chance to get state funding to basically pay for protection at our school, all three of our schools, but it would be remiss in my view. I think we've got to figure out a way to take advantage of this one way or the other. I don't know the detail. I don't live in Ocean Shore, so I haven't seen all the story about the what's been going on. I'm gonna be very interested to see what the location is that they're proposing. There was a report done by the state experts for the vertical evacuation needs for the entire coast, including 3 different scenarios for Ocean Shores alone. In every one of those scenarios, there was a vertical evacuation tower suggested, recommended for the 2 schools in Ocean Shores as the most vulnerable places where with a high concentration of people. And what I'd like to see is exactly where would the city propose to put this this alternative tower, because they're not proposing to put it on the site that was originally identified by the state, which is on the school property, on your property. They're proposing to put it on city land. I'd like to see if it is the alternative site that was mentioned in the state report, or if it's some other site. It's going to be crucial, because if it takes more than 15 minutes, the walking speed of the kids to get to the tower, it's not going to be enough time. So there's some technical due diligence that I have not seen, and makes me a little concerned. I'd like to see the answers to that, but I sure would hate to see us lose the opportunity to get these funds to take care of the hazards that our kids are facing. Both in Ocean Shores.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know.
Embarrassing us, you go ahead and do it. It's bizarre.
Could all the meeting participants on Zoom, please ensure that your microphones are muted? Getting some feedback in the meeting room.
Okay, next,
There you go. Yeah.
we're gonna have Jan Hyatt.
Thank you. I have several concerns. One is, why is the school district working with Ocean Shores City to give them a tower when we're claiming that it's for the school district? And why isn't the Pacific Beach School more interested in these funds because of the age of the school and the need to retrofit a lot of it? And I agree with many of the comments, but one of the comments is, why are we holding this meeting in Pacific Beach up here when so quickly, when we might even have more participation and more interest if indeed we could have held it at the next school board meeting in Ocean Shores? And I do think that we need something at this school. I have no complaint about that. And I think the money should be spent. I don't believe that the school district needs to become partners
why can't Ocean Shores show you what they have and let you go ahead and build what is needed? And not leave it up to the city to pay this back and to take this and to pay that back to you. I'm not sure that's what the funds were meant for, but I do think that your school district here needs to think and consider that these funds be spent here. If you're going to spend them, not with the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky Freed.
Oh, this is interesting, this whole thing. I'm Becky Green, got students in the district. I'm one of the few here that do, seems like, and this is really troubling to me. It's troubling to me because it comes up on the agenda to be voted on now. And I'm wondering, where was public comment, where was input? And then I'm looking at the statistics on our building. And I looked at the grant and what the grant said it was for. Building was supposed to be built before 1998. It was supposed to have not been retrofitted to 2005 standards. The only school in this district that has that is Ocean Shores. And yet we choose to start building our tsunami towers by our most recent, most updated building. We have a high school building with water saturation in the brick, in the concrete blocking that is all the way down from the roof, all the way down to the support beams. Okay, with potential for loss of structural integrity if it's not taken care of. And the first thing we decide to do is go to Ocean Shores and partner with Ocean Shores. I'm irritated by that because we haven't even been able to get Ocean Shores to partner with us to provide a freaking ambulance for our football games. But when it comes to getting $8 million from us, they come to the district with their hands out. And they've not been a friend of the North Beach School District in years past. They've been difficult to work with. And so the other thing about this that just is all wrong, in my opinion, is I think the seismic retrofitting maybe needs to happen. We definitely need to do something with this school. The high school needs attention. The last school that needs attention is Ocean Shores Elementary. It is our newest building, our most updated building, and our most structurally updated with seismic, care taken for its building. And I want to know whose brainchild this was and why we literally have a contract ready to sign the first time the public in this school district gets to hear about it. I mean, and they're wanting you guys to vote to accept the letters, sign on the dotted line and walk out of here with $8,220,000, a done deal for the city of Ocean Shores. Get drafted, handed out there. And I think that at the very least, I'm not saying that we don't need to build a tower eventually. I'm not saying that there isn't things that need to be done, but this needs to be better thought out. It needs to be better planned for the advantage of North Beach,
Thank you,
not
Ms.
the advantage of Ocean Shores.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Rubin.
I see on the agenda that there's board reorganization tonight. I wanted to take a moment and thank Steve for stepping up and being the board chair and the other board members for pushing reorganization when it was desperately needed. I look forward to seeing the continued growth and repair of the district with new leadership. Speaking of leadership, there will be a discussion before you on the tsunami tower and using a seismic grant from OSPI in partnership with the city. I strongly encourage each of you to consider those of you that represent the districts you represent, how your voters feel, not how you personally feel. In the spirit of the grant and what it's supposed to be for, the Ocean Shores Elementary site does not qualify, period. You can't make it qualify. Not only is the school not the adequate age, it's not being built on district land. Being a pass-through through the city is not the purpose of OSPI funding. If anything, the board should be looking at the actual physical structures that qualify for seismic funds and applying those funds to those structures such as Pacific Beach and the high school. because $8 million could go a long way in making sure that children are protected. In event of a tsunami, which is typically triggered by a seismic event, a tower will be futile if your buildings aren't sustainable for the kids to get out of them. Let's also not forget that the site is, I think, almost a half a mile away in a city yard where one section there are underground tanks as well as vehicles, equipment, and gasoline stored. It just doesn't seem like a suitable location for what the OSPI funds are intended for. Additionally, each and one of you should be concerned about how this was even brought to your attention. It's ironic that there's so much care to a topic that no one could be bothered to share with you prior to last board meeting. Had you not had an employee running their mouth about all the great things that they're doing maintenance wise, and had it not come up as a slip of the tongue, you wouldn't even know about it. It'd be in your board packet for you guys to sign off. Just like all the boards prior signed off on all the dirty dealings with Andy Kelly, you'd be signing off on another one because no one had the courtesy to tell you. Yet these city people are sitting in here telling you that you need to care about the kids. Where have they been caring about the kids coming to your meetings? Not one of them's been here before. I've never seen half these people here in your meetings when your district was in peril.
Thank you.
Sorry. Excuse me, Allison Klein has been here.
Judy Hancy. Good.
Well, I'm not written out like the rest of them are well spoken, but I am against the tsunami tower. Mostly because I attended all those tsunami meetings and stuff, and like you said, 15 minutes and what's happening. I don't have any children, but I would be devastated to think one of my children would be drugged trying to be drugged from the school up that tower. And you got somebody else there throwing your kids off, maybe, who knows, because it's survival of the fittest. I think the board really needs to look at what this grant is designed for, what the capabilities of being able to either retrofit or move this school. These children that come to this school are very important. And they probably have a less chance because of your location than our schools that are down in Ocean Shores for survival. And I would think if you have this kind of money, and I'm not aware of how these grants work or nothing, I'm not educated in all that. I just think that if this is the route you're going and you're going to build towers or a tower that maybe a hold up, maybe won't, kids can't get up, but maybe they do, maybe they would be parentless. I don't know. These are all statistics that come into play. I would like to see an actual dry run done from that school to where they have a tower. So you show me, kind of like you do here when you have your fire drill, show me the time period it would take to maybe really save these children. And if in fact, Ocean Shores is in such peril of a tsunami, maybe we need to put a moratorium on building and start cutting back on putting people in Death's Way. That's just my viewpoint of it. Like I say, I don't have children, but I think the school board here really needs to look what this building needs first and where you're going to put the money.
Thank you. Is it Scott Anderson?
It is correct.
Okay.
Hi, congratulations. I'm Scott Anderson. I'm the city administrator for the city of Ocean Shores. I have a daughter in the district. In fact, she has your wife for English class. And you know, we've heard the comments, and here's what I'll say. I know when Andrew Kelly was the superintendent, they looked at getting $100 million potentially in a bond measure to retrofit the school buildings. Although we had already started the process of our tsunami tower. That bond did not pass, as we know. The odds that we will get another attempt to create a tsunami structure at the price that we have now and with the input we have now is almost none. To retrofit and redo the schools would probably cost $20–30 million. In addition to that, the time at which that would take place. We are almost shovel ready on this project at this point. As I always like to remind people, we adults, as this woman Jamie just mentioned, we chose to live here. The kids did not choose to live here.
They did not get a voice in this process as to whether or not they want to be on a sandbar in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the event that there is a tsunami, and they have nowhere to go. As a representative, someone who like represents the city in the administrative capacity, not in elected capacity, I would be absolutely heartbroken to see the results after a tsunami and to know that we did nothing when we had the chance to do something to save these kids' lives. Is it 300? Is it 500? Is it 800? The number is one thing, but emotionally speaking, I cannot imagine looking at myself in the mirror saying we were this close to getting this done. And our grant manager will walk us through the process of what this is, and she will address the questions of how close it is to the structure, all these things. We are this close to finalizing this project. Hopefully, we will never need it, but if we do need it, it would be a horrible thing for the image of the city and our entire community if we look back and realize we didn't take this opportunity to do something and kicked it down the road for another 10 years to do it. Because literally that's what it's going to be. It's going to be just kicking this problem down the road when we are this close to a solution for it.
Thank you.
We
have some online. So the first one I see is Hank Isaac. Just a second, because I had muted everyone. Oh. Got it. Okay. Okay, so Hank, I believe you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so someone is selling you a car without an engine and you're all debating what color it should be. You know, the real disaster here is the notion that some sort of high place or whatever will save lives. You're going to hear an elaborate presentation this evening, which will likely contain carefully manipulated data offered up by folks who have likely never been in a disaster. I don't know if you're aware, but the primitive part of the human brain is hardwired to escape danger in one of two ways. We either run away from it or we climb away from it. So in a subduction zone tsunami, folks will still jump in their cars, attempt to drive away, and they'll all perish in the cars. The next choice, climbing away from danger, makes the idea of tall things of some sort seem very, very appealing. And it dovetails perfectly with a Western culture of standing up to the waves, standing tall, you know, a philosophy, but it's a philosophy that'll kill hundreds, if not thousands of people. I don't think you know what you're dealing with. A major rupture will have displaced roughly 50 cubic miles of water. That's 235 billion tons. And here's the thing, a landslide generated in the subduction zone could double or even triple the height of a tsunami wave, and there is currently no way to accurately predict that. So here are 5 reasons to rethink this course of action. Number 1, a tsunami tower violates a major principle of engineering and design, which is never employ a fixed solution to solve a variable problem. And if saving children's lives is the actual goal, then the true cost of a single tower at the elementary school is far higher than proposed, given that children are only at the school 13% of the time. In fact, I ran the numbers, and it's likely the final cost for this project, you could actually buy each child a small helicopter. The concept of don't put all your eggs, this is number 3, the concept of don't put all your eggs in one basket actually shows up in the Bible. Ecclesiastes 11, and I quote, "Divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. Consider the insanity of placing all the children in one place, believing that place must be safe. Why? Because you said it was." A tsunami tower, number 4, a tsunami tower creates an air of complacency. So after it's built, no one will even consider it's an unworkable solution and will never look for better ones. Number 5, finally, there is no way to test a tsunami tower, and that opens the door to all sorts of corruption, since it's likely no one involved in the planning, construction, or inspection of it will be alive when the actual tsunami arrives. Come on, you're all supposed to be involved in the education of children, so I beg you to spend even a fraction of that time to better educate yourselves. Please do not create a legacy of death for yourselves by succumbing to either the illusory truth effect or confirmation bias, because right now, if you proceed with this plan, you are more like the children you claim to want to protect, in that you propose to construct a pretend fort in order to ward off a real enemy. Oh, and if you question my standing to say any of this stuff, I'll be happy to provide pertinent CV information.
And let anyone else go.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you, sir. I did.
Didn't let anyone else go.
I did.
So our next one is Mike Wilson. If you would unmute your mic.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Hey, you're good to go, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just want to say I agree with many of the speakers against this idea. To me, this is like the mafia trying to wash dirty money. The city will do anything they can to try to get money any way they can. This has already been resoundingly defeated by Ocean Shores voters, just like the other scams that this temporary appointed mayor has floated, like the $16 million police station. And the only school that I know of that is old enough to qualify legally for this money sits in Pacific City. If there's money available, use it to fix that old building in Pacific City. Grade schoolers aren't getting to the maintenance yard in 15 minutes. If you're worried about a tsunami, buy one of those tsunami balls. I heard that fellow's supposed to be in Ocean Shores at the Shiloh Inn this weekend. It's my understanding that the maintenance yard is even closed on the evenings and weekends. And if the school board votes for this fiasco, I think that every one of you guys should be recalled, or at least whoever votes for it. So that's all I've got to say, short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next one is Don Williams. If you'll unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Hey, Don.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a resident of Ocean Shores. I live on the west side of Grand Canal, which is the entire population, according to the cost benefit analysis done by the consultants, and it's mentioned in, I think, the fourth or fifth whereas. I'm totally excluded from being saved. No one on the west side of the Grand Canal was included as being saved in that cost benefit analysis. I've not seen the grant, so I'm wondering, has the grant been submitted, or are you only talking about submitting it? I have seen the MOU, but only because someone gave it to me. I didn't get it from the school district. I wonder how many people have even read it. But one of the things that I'm concerned about is that it makes reference to additional MOUs coming along. And one of the MOUs is going to have to deal with who has priority access to the tower. I mean, is the population that's able to get there from the east side of the Grand Canal going to be held back while the kids go up there? I don't know how it's going to work, but I can guarantee you that Ace Hardware, once that tower is built, Ace Hardware is going to be selling an awful lot of bolt cutters, and people will have them in their car. So I'm concerned about the additional MOUs. Also, I'm not convinced that the OSPI money can be used for this. There's a thing called gifting, and money that's put out by an agency has to have a tangible benefit. Otherwise, it's unconstitutional. It's called gifting under the state constitution. And I'm not sure if I can properly define a tangible benefit of this deal. The school district is not receiving anything physically. So I'm concerned about that. My final question is, there's three sources of funding. I'm sure someone's going to mention it. Right now, there's a $4.735 million available from three different sources. But I understand the costs could be as high as $12 million. So you can expect almost all of this $8 million to be being given to the city. And the city portion of this, the portion not being paid by FEMA or the Department of Commerce, is about $700,000. I'm glad to hear that you're going to be supplanting that money, because under this agreement, the city has no out-of-pocket expenses. So that $700,000 will go back to the city general fund. And it'll be supplanted by the portion of your $8 million coming from the OSPI plus anything else. So those are my concerns. I am concerned that I heard about this a few days ago, and only by scrounging around and trying to find some documents was I able to even make these comments. And I have not seen the grant. I'd like to have somebody explain to me, has the grant been submitted at this point, or is it being waited to be submitted, or exactly what it is? But certainly the city will benefit by saving $700,000, but the entire $8 million can probably be expected to be spent. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Now we're going to move to new business.
Okay, so to start off, the new business, we have several speakers. I'm gonna name them all and then we'll introduce our first one to come up and speak. So we have on Zoom, Matthew Levens from the Washington State Emergency Management Division. And then we have Mayor John Martin and Grant Manager Sara Bisson here to do a presentation. And then we have from OSPI School Facilities and Organization, who would be providing this funding, Scott Black and Randy Newton. So first, Mayor John Martin and Sara Bisson are going to do a presentation. Let me stop sharing and bring up their slide. So.
No, point of order, Steve.
With that,
Point of order, Steve. I believe our.
Got a loud thing
Go
going on.
on for a second, point of order.
I believe our usual practice is 15 minutes for presentations for the board. Is that your understanding?
Yes,
Okay.
so. Yep, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So first of all, my apologies as Mayor of Ocean Shores, if there's any misunderstanding of what we were trying to accomplish. You know, that one of the things that is a process, we started 10 years ago working on this. In the past, and unfortunately, the city, the former mayor and whoever was the superintendent didn't work together.
It's very hard to hear back there, and I'm gonna assume people on Zoom probably can't hear it.
We have a microphone set up there. If you press the button, hopefully it'll be.
So I'm the mayor of Ocean Shores. My apologies if there's any been misunderstanding, confusion of the process. City of Ocean Shores, we started this process 10 years ago. I agree that we as a city and you as the school district should work together. You know, in the past, when we had conversations with Tsunami Tower, there wasn't an interest from the former superintendent to work with the school. So that's the reason why the current location is put where it is, which is as close as we could get to the school on city property. It is hard to do public service, you know, and it's really underappreciated, especially the work that you guys do of dealing with our children. Hopefully that we can explain what the process is, what we've tried to do, but the whole process started when we started looking at survivability of a tsunami tower. The city of Ocean Shores deals with the same issue that you as a school board deal with. We're in a rural area and there's a lack of funding for basic services. Most of our major projects have to occur by getting grants and funding. And that's what we've done. We started the process before COVID started. We've had significant inflation that is constant. And then as you look at what the tsunami towers that have been built in the past, the rules keep changing. The standards keep changing. So Acosta, which built theirs, didn't do as ADA compliant. We're doing ADA compliant. We have constantly been chasing, looking for money, and that's true. And it's just because the money's not there. We're trying to build a basic thing, and one of the concerns that I have is if Ocean Shores can't get a tsunami tower done, and maybe that we can't, but it's not going to happen any place on the coast. You know, there's 30 schools that are in the tsunami zone, you know, and there's only one school that has a tsunami possibility, and we'll be the second one. So with that, again, I'm going to turn it over to Sara Bisson that can give the details where the locations are. We're more than willing.
I got a question. So then you just got with us last month to get this ball rolling?
It was in November.
November 22nd was when we had the first discussion with OSPI and school administration.
Okay, because
But I thought
the
that
first time
was-
we heard about it was in December at our board meeting.
I don't think that OSPI agreed to fund it until after our discussion in December. That's when your school administration reached out to me. But I've got all that information here. We've got a timer.
We may want to hold our
Okay, I'm
questions till
gonna
the end,
hold
just
you.
so that they get their full time.
So my name is Sara Bisson. I'm the grant coordinator for the city. And I am going to slip my heels off here to make myself a little bit more cozy. I am not here as an elected official. This is my working capacity. So I am providing to you all of the facts on how this came to be and my involvement, city staff involvement, and any other involvement that we've had throughout the beginning of the course of this project. I am a North Beach High School graduate, and I even went to school here in Pacific Beach. So this community is very near and dear to me. This is my hometown. Next one. So I'm going to give you a little bit of project history, then I'll get into site selection and how the served demographic is calculated by FEMA, not based on us. This project was driven by the Safe Haven Project Safe Haven in 2011, conducted by UW, Washington Emergency Management, and Washington DNR. So I pulled some information directly from the Safe Haven project that helps to understand why we prioritized and how we arrived at towers here at the city. A direct quote from the project Safe Haven is Ocean Shores is one of the most, if not the most vulnerable Washington coastal communities due to its average elevation of 6 feet and limited access on and off of the peninsula. This illustrates the greater risk in Washington state. As you can see, it is darker where it is more inundated, and then it gets lighter as we move inland. Washington has the second highest risk in the US of these large and damaging earthquakes because of its geological setting, Washington State Department of Natural Resources. Project Safe Haven identifies in the event of a large earthquake and subsequent tsunami waves, the water features pose a significant threat. The city will need, this is per Project Safe Haven as well, the city will need 20 evacuation sites, combo of towers, tower/berm combinations, berms, and buildings. Right. Project Safe Haven also identifies that Ocean Shores is particularly vulnerable to a tsunami because of the city's location further west than any of the other communities assessed within Grays Harbor. Evacuation routes via vehicles are extensive and all go through a single community entry point, making evacuation difficult due to road disruptions and damages, traffic jams, etc. Since the study was conducted in 2011, our population has increased approximately 27.7%.
So we can't see this presentation online.
It says I'm sharing.
Well, we will provide a copy and then you are able to direct link to all of the sites in here as well. So we will be able to follow. Next slide. Ocean Shores Elementary.
Sarah, why don't we pause just a moment
Okay.
to see if Shalice.
It says it said it was sharing the whole time, did it?
Yeah, it's on now.
So within the project Safe Haven, Ocean Shores Elementary was identified as the potential site for a tower or a berm. A vertical evacuation tower identified as the most viable option. Directly from Project Safe Haven, Ocean Shores Elementary School has limited available land to build a berm. Those are from the subject matter experts. In 2018, the city of Ocean Shores began prioritization of the first evacuation site. Ocean Shores Elementary School students were identified as some of the most vulnerable population. Coordination began with Ocean Shores Elementary School to select a site on city-owned property nearby. In November of 2018, an Ocean Shores public meeting and question and answer session was held at the convention center. That's all recorded within city documents. Washington EMD presented tsunami tower concept and grant process to the council. That was a separate meeting conducted the same day. The proposed site and target population were presented to council. And the Ocean Shores Elementary School principal participated in the presentation representing North Beach School District. Unfortunately, Deborah Holcomb was not able to attend that day. That was when the grant application began after that public meeting. We picked a proposed site as close as we could get potentially to the Ocean Shores Elementary School that was owned by the city of Ocean Shores. As you can see, it is not located within the Public Works yard. It is not locked down. It's in the treed area slightly north of the Faith Community Church. All of our geological, technical, and environmental assessments have been conducted on this site since 2020. I'm going to give you a little bit information about how the population or the demographics served is actually assessed, and that's through the benefit cost analysis. A requirement of the FEMA. If we could refrain from questions, I have a question and answer period at the end. A requirement of the FEMA grant application is the benefit cost analysis, and that is conducted by a third party. It's not conducted by the city of Ocean Shores. A score of 1 or greater is required for eligibility. The city was analyzed at a score of 14, so there was a huge need assessed during that benefit cost analysis. FEMA will only count into the benefit cost analysis those that will be able to make it to the site within a given time based on FEMA's calculations. So FEMA calculates a walking speed at a quarter mile, a half mile, and a mile radius. The 800 people that they counted, including the school's student and staff population for the hours that they are on site, were part of that benefit cost analysis. And the benefit cost analysis identified those students and staff of the Ocean Shores Elementary School as part of the population served by the project. Recognizing our need based on the benefit cost analysis and conceptual design, FEMA awarded Washington EMD for our project in 2020. So Washington Emergency Management Division is actually a pass-through agency from FEMA to Washington State to us. Where are we now? Deegan Cole, who is our design consultant, has completed the schematic design as of January 2023. In fact, that was just last week. It is anticipated that the final tasks will be completed by April 1st, 2023. Construction process is set to begin in May of 2023. That's when final design will be complete. The conceptual design of the tower, although I can see where the community would be misled that this was in the Public Works yard, this was an error on our design consultant's part, and all of our assessments and geological surveys have been conducted at the site I illustrated to you on the slideshow earlier. So we do have supporting documentation for that. This is a 2-tier design and will be fenced for security. It is not illustrated here what the fence will actually look like because it will encompass the foundation of the tower. Security features for access. It will be similar to a fire extinguisher, break glass in case of emergency need, and it will unlock the facility. So the first to arrive will be able to access it immediately. And not illustrated within this design is the ADA access ramp to be provided. The pre-disaster mitigation grant was awarded in 2020. Cost overruns anticipated due to COVID-19 inflation were anticipated. And working with the building official, subject matter experts, that included UW Tsunami Modeling, Washington Emergency Management Division, and the consultants that we hired to do our geotechnical assessment. So they had to assess how far we needed to drill down. Working with the subject matter experts and through the trials of the Shoalwater Bay project, other cost efficiencies were recognized. In May of 2022, OSPI was recognized by Washington EMD as a potential funding partner. In November 2022, when we were getting a little closer to the end of schematic design, OSPI, North Beach School District, and the city met to discuss potential funding shortfalls. That was on November 22nd, right before the holiday, actually. And we were notified right before the Christmas holiday that OSPI had considered our proposal and where we were at. And due to us being darn near shovel ready, they were willing to partner with us. So a little bit of tower comparison. The Shoalwater Bay Tower has a 400-person capacity. Our canal tower, driven by the benefit cost analysis and the demographic that would be able to arrive to the tower in time, is assessed at 800-person capacity. Shoalwater Bay's is 50 feet above grade, and ours will be approximately 60 feet above grade. And that is assessed by the tsunami modeling provided by UW. The Shoalwater Bay Tower did not include ADA access, even though that's a federal requirement. We have included an ADA ramp. It will circle the circumference of the facility. There is no sprinkler system included in the Shoalwater Bay Tower, and we require a sprinkler system due to its size and the fact that we have 800 people on the facility. Shoalwater Bay had more stable ground for drilling, and we required deeper drilling due to the geotechnical review. Seismic retrofit for Acosta School Tsunami Refuge designed for 1,000 person capacity. That was paid by a bond at the expense of the taxpayers. At this point, we have arrived at schematic design. So far, we have funds secured. We have a federal grant appropriation from the pre-disaster mitigation grant from FEMA for $3,592,141. Washington State Legislature has appropriated $490,000 towards this project, and the city share will remain $707,381. Costs identified at schematic design is $12,800,000. We are requesting from OSPI, and the conversation that we had with OSPI, $8,010,478. The city's commitment is to keep upkeep and maintenance of the facility will be the responsibility of the city. We were required to commit to that when we applied for the grant funding. We also commit to seek funds for ADA and evacuation sleds as discussed in the MOU and with school district staff, making it easier for the children to traverse the 1,330 feet. It's 1,330 feet, and they are absolutely included in the benefit cost analysis as the demographics served. Work with the school district and adjacent property owners to identify an alternate route to the site from OSE within environmental parameters. So we may not be able to traverse to the far left trail because of wetlands, but we could potentially build an alternate route or clear an alternate route in the middle, just saving the children a little bit of time and providing an alternate route. The city will provide any required reporting and financial documentation forms for reimbursement so that it would ease the burden of school administration staff. But the city does not claim any administration time for themselves to administer this grant. Next steps. I'm trying to give you all of the facts as much as possible. With as much integrity as possible. So I just want you to know that we see this as a positive opportunity to partner with the school district. OSPI requires that the funds be passed through the North Beach School District in order to contribute towards this project, which absolutely serves the demographic of the school. Memorandum of Understanding to establish responsibilities and roles. That's not a requirement of the funding. That's a courtesy between the school and the city. Did I say something erroneous?
Yes, actually.
No comment.
Wow, okay. I'm just trying to do my job here.
Hey, Sarah.
You're doing
Relax.
great. You're fine.
You're so contentious.
You're having a conversation with the board.
Okay, thank
These are the
you.
only people who are gonna ask you any questions.
Thank you. So a memorandum of understanding to establish responsibilities and roles, just so you guys are aware of what we will be willing to provide. And then, of course, you know, what your roles would be and that you would not have to be committed to some of those things that we are responsible for. And the school district would submit a letter of request, which the city can assist in drawing that. And any questions?
Any question? Yes.
Are there further
I
presentations?
yeah, I would rather wait until maybe we let OSPI go, and then if that's all right?
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Do you want me to stick around here while EMD, Washington Emergency Management Division and the OSPI speak?
Yes.
Okay, so the next on our list is Matthew Levens, from the Washington Emergency Management, and he is on Zoom. Matthew, do you want to unmute?
Good evening. Can I get a mic check?
I can hear you.
Excellent. Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Levens. I'm a hazard mitigation program supervisor at Washington Emergency Management Division. Happy to be here to speak on behalf of this particular project. I have been assigned this. I've been at Washington Emergency Management Division for about 2.5 years now, and as a brand new coordinator, this was one of the first projects placed in my queue. And ever since, I've been trying everything I can to support the locals and getting it across the finish line. As it stands right now, in terms of this opportunity for potential partnership, this doesn't go without the details associated with our having already tried to pursue additional grant opportunities through FEMA under their Hazard Mitigation Assistance Grant Program. We are in a position right now where, given what's at stake with this particular project, if we get to a point where we are not able to pick up the remaining cost share, which in this case, this was a nationally competitive pre-disaster mitigation grant round dating back to 2018. This does not have an opportunity for going back to FEMA and asking for a cost increase. All that money that was allocated during that round was given up at that time. So there is no additional funding under that particular round, nor can we cross rounds, nor can we cross programs under FEMA HMA in order to pursue additional funding, which is where some of the work that we've been doing so far in trying to partner with OSPI on some of these projects in terms of trying to see what we can do to leverage HMA funding at the federal level in pair with the stateside OSPI funding to try and help some of the smaller communities actually get across the finish line in meeting that local cost share. So as far as the sense of immediacy that folks are presenting right now, I can certainly attest to that. We are in a position right now where, in order for FEMA to extend what they call the period of performance, this is the POP that we have assigned for this particular subgrant. It is due to expire first quarter of this new year, pending whether or not we get any sort of further detail regarding the locals being able to pick up the cost share. So right now, City of Ocean Shores has been working diligently to make sure that they've got design updates and that they've got clear-cut price points for us to then go back to FEMA, provide the cost overage, which is allowable, especially considering that, as Sarah had mentioned, we had a 14 as far as our benefit cost ratio. Add that additional cost to it, we're still sitting pretty at about a 5.7 in order to continue to move this process forward. So that is allowable under FEMA HMA. However, where we're at right now, unless the additional funding comes in, FEMA is going to see that as a stall, and they are therefore going to be in a position of potentially not extending the period of performance for this subgrant in the first place. So we are working hand in hand with City of Ocean Shores, and happy to discuss with folks on back channel any of the further details regarding FEMA Hazard Mitigation Assistance Program funds. But that is kind of where it stands right now. So this one, what's at stake with these is, as I've got this one here at City of Ocean Shores, I've got another one that is under my belt at City of Westport that is being developed and is pending award right now under a later FEMA HMA award. These are all such new projects that it's really difficult for folks to come together on a reasonable price point, which is why for us right now, we are experiencing a real issue in trying to present this to FEMA Hazard Mitigation Assistance reviewers as a phased approach, which is what we'd like to do future forward. So as you've referenced, several additional VES structures are part of that proposal through Project Safe Haven. We identify that. We know what we need to do in order to move forward. However, using these as the establishment of a baseline for price point and conceptual, and then, further kind of, getting up to at least 60% design concept on these, this is a big push for us to be able to try testing out in either what we have is our nationally competitive grant rounds that are going to be coming again in 2023-24. This gives us an opportunity to pilot the phased approach. But right now, without being able to move any of these forward, we are at a bit of a challenge right now. So we do support the push that we've got here in terms of this partnership, and happy to answer any and all follow-up questions at a later date. Thank you.
Okay, so next from OSPI, we have Randy Newman and Scott Black, who are here in person.
Yeah. We're to go 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Will that work for you?
Well, perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. Thank you for inviting us to talk about our school site safety program. In 2022, the legislature passed Senate Bill 5933 that established the school site safety program. And we're in the midst of implementing this program now. We're operating the program under emergency rule right now. And we're currently developing the rules to manage the program. The grant program provides grant funding for planning grants and construction grants. These grants are used for schools to make seismic retrofits to buildings that qualify, relocate schools in the tsunami zone, and also build vertical evacuation structures. And the way we're operating the grant program is we're operating planning grants. So we have 2 phases of planning. The phase 1 planning is provide geotechnical and site survey grant funds to school districts. So you can hire your geotechnical engineers come in and do the evaluation of the site, and also do a site survey to make sure that we look at utilities, what's needed to relocate a school, all the infrastructure requirements of relocating schools. And also, as part of a building retrofit, you can hire your engineers to come in and do evaluation of the school and do geotechnical work. Phase 2 would be a conceptual design, where you'd hire an architectural firm to come in and do a conceptual design of a replacement school or a retrofit, or building a vertical evacuation tower. And then the third part of the grant is construction grants, where we award construction grants based on your seismic design of your retrofit, relocation of the school, or the building of a vertical evacuation structure. Within the grant program for construction, we are looking for these partnerships between school districts and local communities, so we can leverage any any other state, federal funding that could be available for to build these structures to provide a safe haven for our students during this tsunami. So basically, we're just rolling out this grant program. We're learning along the way, and this first partnership with the city would be a good test case for us as we move inwards to Aberdeen and hopefully where we can hopefully get some FEMA funding to help those districts build towers too. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Not all of the speakers.
I think there's one more. Okay. Right?
Nope.
Nope,
Unless
that's it.
Scott Black would like to
Yeah.
speak.
Oh, no.
No?
Okay.
That's it. All right, now we have questions.
Question for our OSPI representatives.
Yeah.
You mentioned the grant program is currently operating under emergency rule. Can you describe the implications of operating under emergency rule versus?
Yeah, as the legislature started the program, we have to develop rules that govern how we're going to administer the funding. And so what we're currently have to do is develop Washington Administrative Code rules that kind of outlines the grant process, and then So that kind of gives us the outline how the program operates. So we're currently developing those Washington administrative codes that will go out to public hearing. Hopefully sometime in the spring. We're working with our school sites and safety committee to develop the grant program. We hired a structural engineering firm to help us with a guidance document. So that will help guide us as we're developing the Washington administrative on how we administer a program. But before we can get the codes written and out to public comment, then we have emergency authority to operate the program without.
I have a second question for us.
Yeah,
Do it.
No, it's complicated.
I can't ask you to speak to the entire, sorry for the folks on Zoom. I can't ask you to speak to the entire history of OSPI, but in your experience at OSPI, have you ever seen OSPI make a grant to a public entity that was intended not for construction of a school facility?
Yes, we've had grants in the past where we're a pass-through to, most recently, the LIGO project out at Hanford Nuclear Reservation, where we passed through grants to Cal State, Caltech, and MIT to create a laboratory out of the campus.
For the particle accelerator?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna put OSBI on the spot
that's
too.
fine. We're gonna answer your
So my
question.
question is, because I think there's some concern, you know how you spoke to a retrofit fit construction and then a tower?
Correct.
So this particular grant, is it specific to the tower? So let's just say if we, we make this decision as a small step. It's not that we could have used it for a retrofit or construction. It's specific that we need to do it for the vertical tower.
That is correct.
Okay.
Our first priority is address all the things in schools on the coast, and especially in the tsunami zone. So we requested funding from the legislature. We have $100 million currently in our budget to address what we consider the first priority is address needs of the school districts in the schools on the coast. And so, so we've been working with the district where we provided planning grant funding for the junior, senior high school. We're looking to relocate Pacific Beach outside the tsunami zone.
Right.
And since we think the most economical way to provide a vertical evacuation structure for Ocean Shores Elementary, since the school is new, it's modern, it doesn't qualify for a retrofit. We looked at the space of the school and we think there's not enough room to build without tearing out all your ball fields and modifying the parking lot. That a tower adjacent to the, in the city property is probably the best location for the vertical evacuation structure. And since the city already has federal dollars, we would like to leverage our state dollars with the federal dollars to do this project.
Okay, and so those funds would specifically go, if they were not awarded to us, they would go towards another, vertical evacuation tower.
Or another school project in another district.
Okay,
So right now we have $100 million currently. And then we asked for the legislature to fund another $100 million in this next legislative session. The governor put in $40 million in his budget for this program. And so this is going to be a long-term program for OSPI to address all the school sites.
thank you.
There's a question for Ms. Bisson about what is the source of the $707,000 in Ocean Shores city contribution to the project?
That is actually an allocation from the general fund that's been set aside since 2019.
From the city's general fund?
Yes.
I see.
I do have a question for you. So from OSPI, when we get it, work with the city, does that in any way do anything for us in the future, since we, gave the money to the city, we worked in partnership with it for other grants down the road for Pacific Beach, to we definitely need to move it to a different location, but $8 million is not going to move the school. And so down the road for further funding, does that, is it for the better, for the worse, or is just a random?
No, it won't have any bearing on future funding. We're looking at project school by school. So we know PPE has to move to higher ground. So if you accept $8 million for, Ocean Shores vertical evacuation, it has no impact on the PPE project.
So right now, they're gonna start the geotechnical work and civil engineering to figure out the possibility of the retrofit and the possibility of the tower, if it's the best we're at. And then when that comes back in, of course, you're giving them the design money. You're speaking of which one now? The junior senior high, sorry. Junior senior high. So it is our intent to try to help you get that building retrofitted. There's another connection with some other funding that we have to do the modernization at the same time, but it gets very convoluted and it's hard to figure.
Because the seismic program is also a match for our traditional school construction assistance program. So it's the seismic program pays at least 2/3 of the cost. It doesn't have a cap, so the seismic program pays 2/3 of the cost of a school relocation, and then our traditional SCAP program funds the rest.
Yeah.
And
So we're hoping on a retrofit that we'd also be able to help update all the
correct.
HVAC, lighting, all the other stuff that would happen.
We're looking to do a full modernization, because we know these buildings are age eligible for the school construction assistance program.
Yeah.
So we would like to do, in the case of the junior senior high, do a full modernization, make it, seismically, meet the codes, and then also build a vertical evacuation structure at the junior senior high. And then move PPE to a higher.
And this one right now is kind of a stumbling block is land and getting that all ironed out, figured out where there's affordable land.
Yeah.
In the rules that you're developing to administer the program, will there be rules sort of pertaining to, I'll use like computed sound transit term, sub area equity. In other words, equity of distribution of the funds across the communities that they're intended for?
Yeah, our concentration right now is on the coast, address the tsunami risk first. We currently have grants out to Cape Flattery to relocate Mia Bay, and then we have a grant out to Tahoe right now. They're doing their geotechnical work. They're proposing to move the school up to higher ground in Tahoe. And we have a seismic grant with the Ocean Beach School District for Oahu. We're also talking with Ocean Beach about either relocating Ocean Park Elementary and Long Beach Elementary to higher ground, or building them a vertical evacuation structure. So we're concentrating with those schools first. Then we're in conversation now with the Hokian School District and Aberdeen about addressing their tsunami risk.
So there's a significant pipeline of demand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have a.
Well, and that's just on the coast.
That's
We
on the
haven't
coast.
gotten to
Yeah.
the rest of the schools that have all the unreinforced masonry buildings that were built 100 years ago. They're gonna fall down. They aren't near a tsunami, but they're equally dangerous.
But our goal is to address the tsunami risk first, because you have nowhere to go.
So we would fight here for that, right? For Pacific Beach?
Not yet.
I am.
We've been in conversation with the superintendent about possible grant funding for site acquisition and site investigation. So when the site is found, we can award a phase 1 planning grant to do geotechnical work at the proposed site, make sure there's good soils at the site. And then also do a site survey to see what kind of infrastructure work will need to be completed at the proposed site.
But we've been.
And
haven't
also-
been able to locate land yet.
Yeah, then once the site is, secured, then we would provide grant funding to purchase the site. And then build a school.
Right.
It's a long-term program.
Yes.
There's people in Eastern Washington who want it too.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the worst earthquake happened in Eastern Washington in our state. But it's not the most frequent that would happen, there's more chance of earthquake over here.
Yeah, and we, each fall, every year, we're required to submit a project list to the legislature for funding. And so we did that. Our first project list, I do believe, was close to $300 million to the legislature, which included your project, your 3 schools. And then next fall, we'll present another list to the legislature.
I just wanted to reiterate that during our call on the 22nd of November, we were encouraged to submit a letter of request as soon as possible. That was the given the quick turnaround because it was a first come, first served basis.
Yeah, we need a little bit of time to talk about, can we do this? And the way that the grant is supposed to go to the school districts. So in order to have the mechanism to create the structure, leverage those federal dollars, that's when we decided that we would move forward with that. So we could get a grant to the districts that could provide some funding for shores to build that vertical mechanism structure for your students.
If I quickly add just one more thing, because I'm pushing all the school districts that we have, 295 of them, to get a hazard mitigation plan that's approved through FEMA, because FEMA has money that comes through when there's an emergency in your area, or they have many acronyms that Matthew mentioned on his talk. But you can't get any of it unless you have this hazard mitigation plan approved through FEMA. And I know your district has applied for FEMA funding to be able to hire a consultant to do that. And we can help you with chapters and information out of our inventory system that we have developed now. So, but we try to push everybody to get these plans so you can have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt here, but this is Matt Levins with EMD again. Just wanted to clarify for folks, in terms of what this partnership with OSPI and YEMD really entails down the road. This is the sort of thing that is not going to be a change that takes place overnight. We are piloting a brand new program. We call it the Pathfinder. We are working hand in hand with OSPI to try to reach across the state to find folks who are in school districts and are eligible for HMA funding. And again, knowing that HMA funding requirement is specific to, as Scott had referenced, having that FEMA approved hazard mitigation plan. So tracking, oddly enough, as it goes for this one, the hazard mitigation plan request under FEMA was also one of the first subgrants that was assigned to my queue. So that is another one that we are tracking. There is a time horizon that exists where North Beach School District may be in a position to serve as their own sub-applicant asking for federal hazard mitigation assistance dollars from FEMA, at which point we have the opportunity to leverage this partnership with OSPI to hopefully pick up at least a split on local cost share, if not all, based on whether or not folks are economically disadvantaged rural communities. So this is one of those items where we have an opportunity to pay forward. Again, as I've stated, part of what we're looking at right now is that price point. And for us to be able to get a few more of these under the belt at FEMA so that FEMA can start getting into a position of receiving qualified phased approaches that include both technical feasibility study funding as well as eventual construction with sound budgets. So everything that we're working on right now is to try and get us to the better spot where we can move forward, in which case North Beach School District stands to have plenty of opportunity, whether it's on a seismic, VES, or what have you, to be in a position to coordinate both federal HMA funding as well as this OSPI funding.
If I could really quick just summarize, Scott and Matt, what they said is correct. It seems like a year ago, our district applied for a FEMA planning grant to get our FEMA plan ready. As Matt said, that's in the queue, and at some point we might get it and be able to bring a consultant in to have us have our own FEMA plan. That is something we've been working towards, but it's a long process. And then we're currently working with OSPI. We have our planning phase 1 grant with the middle school, high school. If that all goes well, which we're in the middle of it tonight, you're actually accepting the geological. You're voting on, I believe, the geological structural tonight. And last month was the geological. And once that goes through, if it goes well, then we'll do the steps as Randy stated. And that is to retrofit the middle school, high school, and add an evacuation tower. We're hopeful of that. And then we're also currently looking for land with OSPI, to move Pacific Beach Elementary. So we've been working on those 3 areas. This is just the quickest one we've
If I
gotten.
can tag on too, I've been here for 8 years and it's been my pet peeve, my largest bucket, my bucket list to get the high school back to like new condition. And this is just another step and another opportunity that we've seen that we're trying to see is to get money to the district. That doesn't take money out of away from the classroom or anything else. And to keep our facilities in a working fashion. And being that I'm the lone maintenance guy along with 1 grounds guy and 7 custodians, I know how much work it takes and how much money it needs. You know, just to get this high school with the new roof and cladding on the outside to get rid of the leaks and the issues we have there is basically a $3 million bill. So I've been working my tail off and this is just another opportunity that we've seen. And we've been discussing stuff. We've been bringing it to you to the board. I've been to the last 3-4 meetings discussing maintenance issues with you nonstop. And that is why, is because we are basically to the point where we need money and we need to fix these buildings to be able to educate kids.
Randy, I had a question on something you said earlier. I want to make sure I understood it, that it was around to the sort of the urgency of the request letter being sent to OSPI. I understood what you said to mean that would trigger a process within OSPI to determine, I'll call it the legality of OSPI providing funds to, build a non-school facility. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we're developing the rules that's going to go, that will manage the program, is that we have to think about, okay, how would we allow these partnerships to continue? Because we know the legislature likes to leverage as much federal dollars as we can. And to allow, so when we're gonna put into our rule that districts can partner with local governments to build vertical evacuation structures. So as we roll out these rules for public comment, that will be into our proposal to put into the Washington administration. How we manage it.
And once you've developed your proposal for the Washington Administrative Code portion that covers this program, does that go to the code revisor or
Yeah.
is that the next step?
Yeah, well, we put out drafts, we'll have drafts out for public comment, and then we'll receive the public comment. And then we'll go into the Washington Administrative Code. So the code revisor. And we anticipate, we're trying to figure out if we're gonna get any feedback from the legislature for the first part of the legislative session on our proposed project. We haven't received any feedback from legislators about how we're proceeding with the project list. And so that's why we're kind of moving at a slower pace.
We kind of learned the next things. So you don't want to jam through rules and then have them turn around and change it all. It's like that happens.
Yeah, and so far, legislation really been exceptional except for, we haven't seen any changes that they were going to propose to the site program. So we're meeting with our school seismic safety committee next month, February, to run through our draft rules with them, see if they have any technical changes that need to be addressed in the rule. And then once we get those written, we'll be going out for public comment on our rules. And those are published on the OSPI's website when we have our hearing, so, and the code revisor's website. So if folks would like to take a look at that, please continue to check the OSPI's website when those public meetings happen.
Thanks again.
And I'll just say, this is a new program, like you said, and we're kind of inventing it as we go along. And so I want to thank you guys and I'm getting a lot of ideas how maybe we should make some differences, approaches, maybe OSPI feels up in some of the early meetings and discuss this thing. Just to get everybody on the same page, I think. So I'm kind of taking notes on how we can improve the process from our end, so.
Anybody have any further questions?
Thank you.
Thanks again. Let's discuss it with ourselves.
So we can discuss it.
We can,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to do on the new business A first. And then move to B, or you want to do B first?
I think we need,
We should
I
go
think
in
we
order.
have to
Go
do
in
A
order.
first.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll do A first for the seismic grant. Your motion? I need a motion for the seismic grant. To sign it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to approve it. I will absolutely make a motion to approve our letter to OSPI for the seismic grant in partnership with City of Ocean Shores.
I'll second the motion, so it's on the floor.
Motion is second.
But we can have discussion now, the motion's on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm happy to sort of share my thoughts. Like, I haven't lived on the North Beach all that long, but if there's like two certainties of life out here, it's that Highway 109 will flood in heavy rains through Ocean City. And any discussion of, tsunami towers will generate a lot of public interest and passionate points of view. So just knowing there would be a lot of interest in the decision before the board tonight, I wanted to be really clear about the principles I will use to make my own decision about how to vote. So first, the school district has a solemn duty to do all that we can reasonably do to ensure the safety of our students and our employees. And this is a duty that supersedes even our educational mission. I think everyone who has spoken here tonight, from any perspective, would likely agree with that statement. Even when we may disagree about the specifics of how to fulfill that duty. Second, when it comes to the seismic safety of our school facilities and the risks posed by tsunami inundation, I personally prioritize seismic safety first. Major earthquakes that damage the built environment with resulting injury and death are more frequent events in the Pacific Northwest than tsunamis that cause significant inundation. So ensuring seismic sufficiency of our school buildings has to be managed. Even in cases where an earthquake and a major tsunami may occur at the same time together, no one can escape or hope to escape to high ground or take refuge in an elevated structure if the building they're in just collapsed on them. Third, when it comes to prioritizing the district's safety investments and the local, state, and federal resources that are available to us, I think for the preceding reason, we really must first lock down seismic safety. The building we're meeting in tonight has been deemed insufficient to withstand a major earthquake. And the soil on which it sits, not to make you nervous, is geotechnically unsuitable to reinforcing this building or constructing a seismically resilient facility at this site. So later in this meeting, the board will consider taking some of the first formal steps towards addressing that through the process that Scott and Randy spoke of. We have seismic sufficiency concerns at the middle school and high school, for which we're already working with the OSPI team on a phase 1. These on our agenda tonight. Fourth, I have heard not here tonight, but in kind of the public discussion of this, I've heard this characterized as free money. Every year, the school district manages and spends funds that originated either with property taxpayers here in the school district and at the state level, or came from people who pay income tax at the federal level. Every dollar over which we exercise our fiduciary duty as a board was once someone else's money. And we owe them the same duty of care as to how we spend it and in what sequence, regardless of its source. Fifth, the funding source that is most relevant to our pressing needs here in the district is the OSPI Seismic Safety Grant Program, which the legislature created and the governor signed into law just less than a year ago. I, as a board member, really want the North Beach School District's utilization of that funding source to be aligned with the priorities that I just described. And I would like our funding request to align with what I personally do believe was the legislature's clear intent that the funds would be used to address the needs of school facilities in districts like ours. And then finally, and again, in the spirit of using public funds wisely, I'd like the district to leverage seismic safety funds wherever possible in ways that accomplish multiple goals at one time. The relocation of this building, this school, would not only address the core safety concerns that surround it, but would permit the replacement of this facility, which has stood here since the Eisenhower administration, with a modern school that better supports learning for the nearly 100 kids who are here every day. Or in looking eventually at vertical evacuation opportunities directly at Ocean Shores Elementary, we could create a space that is useful both as a refuge and a programmable space for instruction or co-curricular activities, and make that a space that's integral to the school in the school site, rather than requiring a potentially very risky journey of nearly half a mile, 0.4 to 0.5, I measured it, rather than requiring that journey to a remote tower site, where children and staff might have to contend with members of the community trying to access the same site. So those are my sort of policy principles around the choice that's on the agenda tonight. I really appreciate, everyone we've heard from. Like I said, there may be disagreement about how to get to the goal, but the goal is definitely to make our community safer, and our kids and employees, most particularly, as that's the district's responsibility. And so those are the principles that will guide any action that we take tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Sure. So I think for me, this just seems like an opportunity. I want to see equity, through all of our 3 buildings, and they're so different if you look at them. We have this building, which the hope is to move it to a safer area. We have Ocean Shores Elementary, which is our only building that is in the city limits. And then we have our middle school, high school. And to me, this just feels like, we have a plan for this building that I'm excited about. And it sounds like the middle school, high school were already in the works, maybe for a retrofit. And I see this as just a step. Bless you for doing grants, but I know that they don't just give them to you. There's a lot of things that come into play. And if this is something that is specific and we've heard from a lot of people, and if this is a step that we can take to help one of our buildings, because that's the step we can take right now, that to me feels like it's an easy decision for me. It's a baby step, right? It doesn't mean we can't do different things in the future. But this to me feels like we're doing something equitable to each of our buildings.
No further discussion. Move to a vote. All right, let's move to a vote. Okay, all in favor, aye. All opposed? Opposed have it. Just amazing.
But, move adoption of the MOU. We'll put that on the floor.
Okay, and then move adoption of the MOU.
I mean, we would need a second.
How can there-
Either.
How can the MOU move forward if we just killed the?
We have a vote on both agendas.
The first one, didn't get it, and we vote on the second one. So I think second on that one.
Just to put it on the floor. I already moved to put it on the floor, so I can't second it.
Okay. We move on the floor. All in favor?
I don't even know how to vote on that because it doesn't make sense to me. I apologize. That doesn't make sense to me because we killed.
All opposed? Aye. Okay. Consent agenda.